slit, whatever you want to call it. These are so fun. I've been wanting to show you for a few weeks because it's the funnest thing to do outside in the summer. And every time I get a chunk of time outside, it rains. So I have not done that. But what am I doing? It's silhouettes. And we trace them. If people are like, I have no artistic skill. If you can trace the line, you can do this, okay? Follow along. You are going to go for a little walk, a little Mother Nature walk. You're going to get yourself some fun foliage. You're looking for interesting shapes. Doesn't matter if it's old, doesn't matter if it's scraggly. I've got these little flowers have seen better days, but they're still interesting shapes. And then you need a way that you can suspend them above your paper. I learned how to do this in Girl Scouts, and this is what we did, and I've never found a better thing. A little masking tape to the top of a Windex bottle. You could use it if you've got a tripod with like a gripper thing, that's great. This is great because it's very easy to manipulate. And what are we doing? I've got this taped up here, and I'm going to just set it here. You may or may not find that you're going to angle this up and down. You might want to prop something underneath it. This is ideal to do outside under direct sun. I am working under these halogen lights, so I get a double exposure situation. What I'm going to do is position this and look at my shadows. Look how interesting these shadows are. So beautiful and delicate and cool. Do you see what I'm doing here? I'm literally just tracing the shadows. It's a little bit hard to show you because I'm holding my camera in a way that creates a hand shadow as well. I promise you, when I'm not holding the phone, it's a little bit easier. The trick is to follow the line, not where you think the line should be, but where it actually is. So you just keep on following. And again, your hand may make a shadow. You just got to kind of stick it out, manipulate it. Keep on going. Ooh. And I'm kind of doing this by holding the pen at the very end, which I think creates a lot more freedom, a lot more interesting movement. You hold it like this, like a pen, it just gets kind of dull. Okay, so I went pretty much around, and just look at that, just on its own merit. This is a weird and kind of wonderful drawing. I may or may not come back and close that little piece. But I am going to spin it so that we get sort of an alternate composition. Maybe we do it that way. And maybe, do you see what I'm doing? I'm tipping up the end of an eraser under the Windex bottle. Very, very fancy going here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do another one. I might do another 3. Hold. Let's see where it goes. Okay, let's see how. See, that's just an interesting drawing. I mean, if you did nothing else, slapped a signature on there, that would be cool. However, let's take it to the next level. Let's grab, but if we used an interesting background, I have a whole stack of these really cool, the kids did these for pride painting on Wednesday. I'm not sure who's going to come and pick theirs up or not because they had to dry a bit, but you get the point. There's a way. This could be an upcycled underpainting, something that just never quite crossed the finish line. You guys have taken my other little class things. I'm crazy about keeping a mortar file. It just works. It just never. But I think the nifty factor is a lot higher when we strengthen the silhouettes by darkening the background. So that's what I'm doing right now. What am I using? This is my watercolor of choice. You don't have to use this, though. You can use the little paste pots of watercolor. You could use gouache. You could use whatever. But I love Dr. P.H. Martin says the most vibrant, concentrated watercolor. I'm going to use it about 50%. 50% straight. It's almost like a dye. And then 50% water. I'm just going to add. And I'm using a sumi brush. If you've never... You may have seen these at the art store. They're intended for Japanese calligraphy, I believe. But they have a very expressive tip on them that I find just perfect for something like this where we just want it to feel expressive. So I have my juniper green here, and then I have just dirty water in here. For the first coat, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add just a teeny little bit. That's even too strong right there. I just want a very, very diluted color because I'm going to use this to make my first marks. And I want just enough that I can see. See what I mean? I want to know where I put it, but that's it. This is my method of watercolor. Sometimes people will ask me if I teach watercolor, and I really don't, because to be perfectly honest, I don't find it very relaxing if you use the traditional methods. This is my sort of alternative. I'm going to make shapes. I'm going back to that silhouette concept. I'm just getting it slightly dark. I'm going to make it slightly darker so I'm going to make shapes. I'm going back to that silhouette concept. I'm just getting it slightly dark. I'm going to make it slightly darker so you guys can see. I realize on camera it might not be. Yeah. You see where that is? Quickly as possible, I have gone over my entire surface with a very diluted juniper green. Now I'm coming into the more concentrated. It's about 50% paint, 50% water. Now I'm going to come in, because this is wet, watch. Oh, look, watch. And now is when the fun starts. I don't care if it gets on the yellow. I don't care. So long as it's wet, that water will travel the paint better than anything I could ever do. I might come in and help it a little bit here and there, especially along the stems. I like to have a strong stem situation. Might budge it around, but honestly, I think it's just more magical when you let the water do the work. Okay, so do you see what's happening? The paper and the water and the paint are all dancing together. And anywhere that I went over with that initial diluted coat, the paint will go. It'll spread on its own. This is why you need to use watercolor paper. If you try doing this on cardstock or something, the paper would just all mix together and absorb it. These yellow areas, it's not spreading over the yellow because I didn't touch it with that diluted coat. Let her dry, but no, if I turn her vertical, look what happens. Colors start to run. Maybe that's what you want. Maybe that's what you don't. That is an emotive paint run right there, folks. Hold on, I'm gonna show you something nifty. So let's keep that same project, but let's swap out the pen, no marker, replace it with masking fluid. You can buy masking fluid in lots of different ways. It comes in little sort of fountain pots. I love the fine line, and it comes almost like a pen. It's almost like writing with a syringe. Hold on. This is very popular with watercolor artists. If you go to the art store, that's usually where you'll find it, next to the watercolor. It's probably somewhere in the area of $10 a tube, but honestly, because it does come so thin, this could last you a very long time if you take care of it. But it's very fun. If you've taken my Secret Garden class, I show you how you can load this with paint and use it to write and paint. It's just beautiful. But this particular consistency, this is the one I recommend. Fine line in the fine tip, not super fine tip. That one's prone to clog a little too easily. Do you see what I'm doing? Just tracing the lines. That's it. Just come on in. Trace them. If that's not bold enough for you, move it around, find some other lines. Woo. I try to move fast. And very often if I find myself tightening up, use my non-dominant hand. That's really fun. Let that dry thoroughly. You're going to be tempted to do this next step in a half hour when it feels tacky. Don't. Let it dry, preferably overnight, if not overnight, quite a ways. This one's been drying 3 or 4 days. It's a peony. It's a silhouette of an actual peony, and mine have all been dead for at least 3 days, so I know it's old. Same sort of method. I have the more concentrated dye over here, and now I have a super diluted. It's probably 90% water. I'm just going to come in, wash it over. Just looking for fun. Move quickly. Again, the watercolor is going to start absorbing. The more absorbed the water is into the paint, the less fun it's going to have traveling around. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now I come in, and I love a good splatter. Ah! Oh, that kind of looks, that might be a little too blood. I might be a little on the blood spectrum. Let me come in, let me get some purple. Hold on. Tangerine. I thought I had purple. They make a shade called Orchid that I love. But let me just come in. Look at that, and then just let the orange kind of travel where it wants. Oh. Where's it gonna go? I don't know. Clean fan brush. I'm gonna come and pick up some of this orange. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe do kind of a compositional perimeter. Maybe not. Maybe you bring in another color. Maybe you bring in some blue over here. Hold on. Okay. This could be a horrible mistake. We're going to find out. I'm going to come down. You see where it's pooling already? Let's take advantage of that because we don't really want a pool. That can do some... Oh, but look. Yeah, we just got to go. Ah! Love it. Okay. Well, let's get some more blue pooled in here. And now let's turn it. Yeah. That's going to be glorious. It's just going to be great. And the masking fluid, what it's doing is it's blocking off everything underneath it. So this needs to dry, and I do mean dry, dry, dry. It's the height of summer. You could put it in full heat and it might dry in an hour, but you see, it needs to be dry though. This next step's going to mess you up if you don't wait. So this one is dry, dry, dry. I did this a while ago. You don't need a rubber cement eraser, but it certainly helps. You can also just use your finger. Look what happens when you start peeling away. Bright, vivid. You see what happens when you get that eraser going full force? It just kind of clears up. It's going to take you a minute, but it's worth it. This is what it looks like with the masking fluid, and this is without. And what's cool, there's so many things that are cool about this. Just the process alone is just incredible. But because that water, the masking fluid has a ridge on it, you see that concentrated orange kind of pooled here, and then it was softer over here. Like, this is just the kind of thing, if you set out to do it on purpose, it's not going to look that good. Don't set out to do this and say, I want 3 purple flowers in a row. The flowers aren't going to show up for you. Allow something cool to come, and this is just a wonderful way to let it happen. All right, I'm going to do this. Look at that. I mean, that's just beautiful. Put that in a mat behind a frame. That's incredible. This is one I did earlier. It almost has like an under the sea vibe. This is one I made with these sort of, what do you call these? Not quite lonely daisies from the parking lot. Lovely. Look what happened here. Same situation where the masking fluid create these little pockets. This one is the exact same, and then I came in with a little bit of pastel just to add, just a little zip, just a little something. I think it really, this one almost feels like Neapolitan ice cream to me. I can't get enough of that. And who would have thought hot pink and brown with amber gold? Who was going to put those together? I wasn't. And then some brown ink happened, and we had a pink underlayer, and it all worked out for the best. Sometimes the paint. And that was the first 2 I showed you. These were not with masking fluid. This is just that simple, again, starting ink line. Got it there. I looked at a flower. I chose some highlights, and I did the highlight lines in a little bit of pastel. My pastel of choice is always Prismacolor New Pastel. You can use what you want, just don't use oil pastels. Those are the devil. But you really, so long as you're using a vivid undercolor and a dramatic, create contrast between the bloom and the background. I'm losing my word. Here's that first piece that we started with, and I've got the initial blooms right here. Trying to indicate how to see shadow and highlight is sort of a study on its own. It's hard to show on camera, but essentially what I do is squint your eyes and look for the bright points. And then, so I see a bright point right at this juncture here, kind of just following along the leaf. So I'm going to find, I think that juncture was here, and apparently I took out the leaf. So maybe I'm going to put some sort of gesture of a something or other back. Let's go back. I see little bits of light all along sort of center edge of the flower. I just put something here. Nothing fancy. Just that alone added a certain amount of energy and finesse that we didn't have before. It's important to not overdo it. However, if I squint my eyes and look at this stem is getting lost. So I am going to come in, just give a gesture. Sometimes it's really great to work with the little stumpy pieces because you can't get heavy-handed with them. Yeah, that's about it. And then I also, just because I'm me, I will always find the sort of funky bits, and instead of trying to hide them, I'll highlight them. Like this pink thing, I'm going to just highlight it. Why not? And then alone, I think it's just really beautiful. I love it. This is a great project to do when you are on vacation, in your yard, having fun outside, warm weather. It's also fun to keep you busy in the winter, but it's also kind of nice if you can source the flowers and the foliage from someplace meaningful. You could even, like, I did it once for a friend where we saved a couple of pieces from her wedding flowers, and it's good. Who doesn't like flowers that have a particular meaning behind them? Time to a particular place or time. So it's very cool.